What happens if you mix a Barbarian with a Warlock? You get a really fun build. So this is my Barbarian Warlock levels 1 to 12 and a combat tutorial as well as a list of items to make you a really good frontline powerhouse that can talk your way through everything. So we're going to start this build of course at level 1 with Barbarian. Now for your stat array we want something akin to this. We want 8 in strength, 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence and wisdom because who wants a smart barbarian? As fun as that sounds. And 16 charisma. For your proficiencies, we're going to take whatever we want. And then we move on to Barbarian level 2. This gives us danger sense. So you sense when things aren't as they should be. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against traps, spells, and surfaces. And you can't be blinded or incapacitated. As well as reckless attack. Until your next turn, you have advantage on attack rolls, but enemies also have advantage against you. Really nice way of ensuring you hit. The only downside is you will end up taking more hits mathematically, but it's a pretty good trade-off. Okay, at level 3, this is where we dip over to our Warlock Multiclass. Of course, we unlock a bunch of proficiencies, such as light armor and simple weapons, but most of our skills come from the Barbarian, which is why we chose it at level 1. Now for your Warlock, we are of course going to take Eldritch Blast as a cantrip. Now bear in mind you cannot cast spells while raging, however Eldritch Blast, nice little cantrip, so if you want to save your rage charges you can throw this out. And we're going to couple that with something like Minor Illusion or Mage Hand, something that isn't going to require any output so to speak, more utility based stuff. And for a subclass we're going to take the Fiend, and this gives us Dark One's Blessing. So when you reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, this gift from your patron grants you 4 temporary hit points. It also gives us Armor of Agathis, and this is a key part of this build. So of course we are going to take Armor of Agathis, and we can change out the Arms of Hadar. Theoretically, we're going to take anything. You could take Hellish Rebuke. I hear if you set this as one of your reactions to automatically trigger, it will work while raging as a glitch. Don't know if that's true or not though, I haven't tested it. Okay, Warlock level 2 is where we go once we get to level 4, and this unlocks our passive abilities for our Eldritch Invocations. Now we get one more spell slot, so for this one, maybe take Hex. It doesn't really matter to be honest, these aren't really going to be what you spend your spell slots on. What we are going to take though for our Eldritch Invocations is Agonizing Blast. So when you cast Eldritch Blast, add your Charisma modifier to the damage it deals. And we're going to pair that very nicely with Repelling Blast. When you hit creature with Eldritch Blast, you can push it away up to 4.5 meters, and this is great for pushing enemies off of beams, ledges, cliffs, all that sort of fun stuff. Okay, we are now level 5 and we are sticking with the Warlock. This gives us another passive in terms of our Pact boon. So for now we get one more spell. For this one, we are going to take Mirror Image. And you probably can guess where we're going with this. We are going to take Pact of the Blade. You can summon a Pact weapon or bind the one you are wielding, making it magical. Pact weapons use the wielder's spellcasting ability modifier instead of strength or dexterity. Okay, at level 6 we once again stick with the Warlock. For your cantrip, probably take Minor Illusion. It probably won't matter too much. You could take like Bone Chill for example. And for a spell, we are going to take Misty Step. Now, this isn't really going to be the most helpful, but it is nice to have that option. And for a feat, we're going to take the ability score improvements, and we're going to bump our charisma up to 18. Now, we are level 7, and this is where we go with our Warlock to level 5, to unlock the Deepened Pact. So, Blade Pact holders gain an extra attack with their Pact weapon. Please bear that in mind, really nice ability here. And for a spell, we're going to take Counter Spell again. We're only going to have very, very, very limited spell slots, so you're not really going to be a spellcaster in terms of this. This is the type of build you would pair with a wizard or a sorcerer who has access to more spell slots, who can control the battlefield. But worst case situation, if you run out of spell slots with them and you still have one available and you really want to stop that high level spell, at least you have the option. And for an Eldritch Invocation, again, none of these are really going to be too helpful. So we're just going to take Beast Speech to really help us with that main character syndrome. Okay, at level 8 we dip back over to the Barbarian. This gives us our specialization and an additional rage charge. And for your subclass, we are going to take the Berserker. This gives us a Frenzy. So your rage turns into a Frenzy. You gain Frenzy Strike and Enraged Throw. Gain resistance to physical damage and advantage on strength checks and saves. We're going to go Barbarian level 4 at level 9 to unlock the next feat. Now I'm going to take the ability score improvement of Charisma to 20. You could take Savage Attacker. Those being my two options, but I'm going to go for Charisma to 20. And we're going to go Barbarian level 5 for fast movement. Movement speed increased by 3 meters while not wearing heavy armor, which we will not be wearing. And then we're going to go back to Warlock to round this build out. So at level 11, Warlock level 6, we have Dark One's Own Luck. Call on your patron to change your fate and add a 1d10 to an ability check. Really nice, just class action here. Now we get one more spell, and again, honestly, take anything. We're just going to take protection from good and evil. And finally, Warlock level 7. Gain a passive again for another Eldritch Invocation. We once again have another spell, and this time we're going to take Fire Shield. So this only lasts for 10 turns, unlike Armor of Agathis, so please bear that in mind, but it is a nice other option to have. And for an Eldritch Invocation, we're actually going to take the Book of Ancient Secrets. The reason being is we gain Ray of Sickness, Chromatic Orb, and Silence, and we can cast these spells once per long rest, and it will not use a spell slot. And since we have such limited spell slots, this just adds a lot of utility to our character. Okay, so let's go over our items. Now there's a few options, but let's start with the headwear. Now for this build, I'm taking the Bone Spike Helmet. When you rage, hostile creatures in a 3 meter radius must succeed a Wisdom saving throw or take 2 to 8 psychic damage. Target receive half damage on a save. So this is just free damage for raging. I think that really ties in nicely with the Eldritch Warlock invocation of like this menacing being infusing your rage almost. You also get an Intimidation +2, which I like as well. If you wanted to, you could switch this out and you could take the Birthright, so Charisma +2 up to 22, which will help with your attacks and spells, and you'd look like that. Nice little like cowboy hat thing. Now for a cloak, since we will be a frontliner, I like the Flesh Melter Cloak. Whenever a creature deals melee damage to the wearer, that creature takes 1 to 4 acid damage. So again, just 1 to 4 extra damage for being a tank in the front. For boots, I really like the Blackguard's Greaves. It gives us Long Striders and Athletics +1. For armor, I really like the Armor of Agility. Very rare medium armor. Now, exotic materials, you get to add a full dexterity modifier to your armor class. It does not impose disadvantage on stealth checks, and a saving throw +2. Now most medium armor only adds a +2 from your dex. Exotic materials allows us to add +3 because we are at a 16. For gloves, I really like the Helldust gloves. Get a +1 bonus to spell attack rolls and spell save DC, but more importantly, Infernal Touch. Your weapon attacks do an additional 1 to 6 fire damage, as well as strength saving throws +1. We're going to pair this all off very nicely with the Caustic Band, which is an extra 2 acid damage per hit. The Killer Sweetheart, which means once we kill a creature, our next attack will be an automatic critical hit, really nice way of pumping up the damage. And this pairs very nicely with the Moondrop Pendant. So when the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they don't provoke opportunity attacks. Again, a really nice way of just buffing up our defensive and tanking abilities. Now for a sword, probably one of my favourite weapons in the game, the Sword of Chaos. On a hit, regain 1 to 6 hit points, and it is a packed weapon because it has been binded to us, which means it now uses our Charisma. And as you can see here, we have a bunch of things. We get the +2 acid, +1d4 necrotic, +1d6 fire. A lot of damage stacked on this weapon. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick little rest and I'll show you what this weapon is like, and then we'll do our build from there. Okay, so we have taken a long rest and we have now left camp, and what you can see is 13 to 31 damage. Really, really nice. So when you leave camp, make sure you do things such as bind your packed weapon, just like that. And then once you bind your packed weapon, make sure you come in here and do Armor of Agathis. As you can see, there is no turn weight on this, So this you can cast as soon as you leave camp, and it will last until it dissipates. And this is a really important part of this build because it will just last, unlike things like Fire Shield or Mirror Image, both really good spells and really good defensive spells. This will last until it's just evaporated. So let's go pick a fight and show you this build in action. Okay, as you can see, our lovely Warlock Barbarian is 5th in the turn order, which is pretty good. Now, if there's a big boss fight, I would personally recommend using your first turn to set yourself up. For example, Mirror Image. So if we would do this as our action, and there you go, we now have those 3 duplicate Mirror Images. Not only does this protect yourself, it also protects your Armor of Agathis and your temporary hit points. And then from there, go into your Frenzy. And as you can see, the enemy in front of us took 5 psychic damage. And what this means is, because you cannot cast spells while raging, the spells we have, because they're not concentration, last through our rage. Really, really good thing to remember. And what we'll do is we'll just place ourselves next to him to try and get attack off, or so they attack us so we don't lose our rage. And there you go, 1 big hit. And there you go, big miss thanks to the Mirror Image from that attack there. And now we can start wailing on the enemy. So let's start with the Barbarian in front of us. And we're just going to keep hitting. So 2 attacks, we get 3 attacks. Thanks to the extra attack from Barbarian and the Pact Boon from the Warlock. Now sadly that one missed. However, what it does mean is that we can then, as a bonus action, attack. So we get 4 attacks per round. Just like that. And each hit, you'll have seen, heals our character up more and more. And again, another big miss thanks to Mirror Image. And we can once again try and finish the fight. So there you go, that is our first person killed. This now, thanks to the Killer's Sweetheart, unlocks Executioner. So if we would come up here, this next hit is a guaranteed critical. Thanks to our ring. Just like that. And once again, we can come in here and we can keep smacking, use our bonus action, and just like that. And once again, as you can see, every hit we get the plus extra hit points, and unfortunately we're not taking any damage, so you don't even get to see them stack, but that is how it is working. And you'll notice we still have our Mirror Image, and we still have our Armor of Agathis. And again, this isn't going to be the biggest damage output build. If you want that, maybe take Savage Attack instead of the Charisma. But this will allow you to tank. It's a lot of fun thematically. You get 4 attacks per round. Really, really nice way of just standing in the pocket and taking enemies out. And once again, we can just start running up and whacking people as hard as we can. Just like that, and every time, consistently, 4 attacks as long as you're raging. And we have the movement that we can just keep going and going and going and chase enemies down. Now what we are going to do is we're going to end our rage, ready for next turn. And there you go, our final Mirror Image is now gone. And what we're going to do, we're going to come up here. And we still have the capability, if we choose to. Unfortunately, we are very close. Let's move a little bit. There you go. To still hit them with some Eldritch Blasts. And there you go, thanks to our Eldritch Invocation, we did send them flying. And again, another big miss thanks to our 20 AC. And even when we're not ranging, we still can do 3 attacks per turn. The only option is we won't have the bonus action from our Frenzy. But as you can see, we still have the capability to do all this. And finish a fight. So that is my Barbarian Warlock sort of raging Patron build. Again, not the biggest damage output, but really good at staying in the pocket, hitting hard and consistently with some ranged capabilities. So if you have enjoyed, please drop this episode a like, it helps me amazingly. If you're new and not subscribed, you'd like to, that'd also be amazing, and hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.